Hi guys, welcome to another class. Today we're going to be talking about America and Europe divided by culture, whether we are that different or we are not. And we're going to divide the class on two parts indeed. First, we're going to try to define what culture is. Then we're going to address some cultural similarities and differences between sides of the Atlantic. That will be the first video. On the second video, I'm going to be talking about this book of Paradise and Power. But before we go on to talk about that, remember that on Friday a pop quiz will be available online. You will have to log into Blackboard and you will have 5 minutes once you start answering to complete this pop quiz. It's going to be about only Wednesday's class. It's about economic relations between the US and Europe. So please make sure that you watch the videos and you read through what I've already uploaded, and it should be available as you're watching this. So let's start talking about culture. Culture, I like to say that it's all around us. It's a little bit like Christmas, so to say. And it's our system of beliefs, knowledge, arts, moral, law, traditions, and any habits that we have acquired, and they are common to the society. And this is a definition already from the 19th century. And if you want to simplify it, you can say that culture is how we feel, how we think, and how we act. So by the end of the day, it's a shared, more or less, system of beliefs that determines how we act in life, how we understand things in our society. And why is this shared? Because we go through socialization. And socialization obviously happens through, there's an important phase, the first phase, the primary socialization, that takes place in the family, but then also society and peers get involved, education gets involved. Well, many of you are majoring in sociology, so there's no need for me to explain what socialization is, but by the end of the day, you have to understand culture is something shared and is within a society. And there might be cultural differences, of course, but big differences are going to be bigger with other societies go through different socialization. So, and you can think of many cultural similarities. And if you were now all together in class, I will ask you to list these cultural similarities. And because I'm sure you can find many. Obviously, I still think that there's more that brings us together than that it separates us. And an important issue, and actually what we're going to be talking about in the terms of differences, and now when we compare the US and Europe, is all about the importance of the individual. And Ropun talked about, this is a very interesting book about the decapitalization of American society and how communities are getting lost, and how individuals are more important. And actually, there's been a lot of work over this issue after he wrote his book as well, and also has to do with how our labor market system changed, how our system of relating to our peers changed through social media, and obviously that has a big impact on individualism. And he put the example of how Americans were going to vote on their own more and more often, when back in the day used to be communities going all together. But let's put up some questions. First one actually is going to be about how are you, I'm quite sure you cannot see that through the video, but you have the PowerPoint at home as well. How likely you are to define your own fate as an individual. And in this case, you can imagine this American dream. Americans think that you have the ability to determine your own future more than Europeans. Europeans think that it's society actually that constrains you, that there's not that much that you can do, that actually your life is more or less determined, that you cannot really diverge from that path a lot. Well, Americans, you can see data here, 57 and 73% are more likely to think that they can actually have an impact on their own lives, that if they work hard, you're going to be able to make it. Well, for example, if you compare it to French people, only 25% of people think that, 75 Americans. And actually, it's quite interesting. Look at all these charts, because the country that is almost all the time closest to the US, and this makes a lot of sense, is the United Kingdom. And actually, no, they're living in the European Union, so that's interesting. So, this question is about what is more important, to give the freedom to the individual to determine their own fate and to pursue their own goals without the interference of the state, or whether it is more important that the state make sure that it intervenes, so make sure that no one is left behind. And I'm sure you can predict how people answer this question. In the US, much more important, freedom to pursue their own goals without the interference of the state, while in Europe, the state ensures that nobody is in need. You look at, for example, 67% of Spaniards think that, while only 35% of Americans. So this poses some very clear differences between both sides of the Atlantic. The importance of religion. I'm not sure whether you are able to answer this question, whether you already have an opinion, but actually religion is more important in the US than it is in European countries. It's unthinkable that any Spanish president of the government is gonna finish a speech saying God bless you or God bless Spain. That will be shocking, absolutely shocking. While in the US is important and how religion plays a role on people's life and how this reflects publicly. If you ask about, oh yeah, this is very interesting because it's about freedom of speech and how tolerant people are and how willing they are to give freedom of speech to a certain purpose. If it's to criticize religion or something that can be offensive to a religion or to a minority. What do you think? That Americans or Europeans are going to be more tolerant with this kind of offensive, but at the end of the day, free speech? Actually, freedom of speech is much more important in the US than it is in Europe. In the US, 67%. If you look at Germany or Italy, they are about 30% maximum. And this obviously has to do with the history, how historical events determine our culture and how they deeply affect our system of beliefs. And freedom of speech is one of the basics of the American culture. And last but not least, an interesting question, slightly different from the others. Married people having an affair is unacceptable. Who do you think that stands behind that quote? American people or European people? Who thinks that an affair is unacceptable in their marriage? Actually, who thinks it's unacceptable are Americans. 84%. If you look at what the French people answer, this is absolutely hilarious. Only 47% of the French think that having an affair is unacceptable. 53%, well, why not? Come on. So yeah, quite interesting. But that has nothing to do with international relations, but I thought it was funny. Are we that different? So by the end of the day, there are differences. But are we that different? I wouldn't say so. There's more that brings us together that separates us, even though there are important differences, and that also affects how we act in international society and how does have an impact on strategies and how we see what we see as threats. Because after the break, we're going to be talking about this book that I've uploaded, so if you want, you can read it. It's a great read. It's not a very long book, but it's quite clear, and it's actually quite a nice read. I absolutely recommend it, of Paradise and Power. So now we're going to have a break, and we'll be back to comment this book and how we have a different approach, how we do have a different culture of power, and that determines international policies by the end of the day on both sides of the Atlantic. See you in a minute.